Yalla Home
with Ana Schofield
and Big Half.
Music's greatest songs, worth covering. Original classic hitmakers.
And see, this is an absolute beaut. Now, the bed underneath me is not going to do the song justice. It obviously sounds a bit like Ultravox, but wait till you get to the song. Honestly, hang in there. And let me tell you the story of an incredible band called Ultravox, which went through changes, went through band members, went through the years. We're going back to 1978. Excuse me. And before I actually started doing research on this, I had no idea. So I entered somewhere around the 90s, the whole Live Aid thing. Live Aid was one of the first massive concerts put together that actually, helped a situation. And of course, at the time, it was Africa and it was famine. And Bob Geldof decided he wanted to get something together, and he did it with Midjour. And Midjour is the lead singer from Ultravox, but he wasn't the first. Now, this song, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Great song. It's Ultravox's biggest hit. It's so 80s, and it's also 1981 80s. It's not mid-80s. We are talking literally on the cusp, and actually the song was written before that. So it's British New Wave. That's the music we're listening to. It's proper 80s. The band were formed in London in 1974. Yep, you heard right. And it wasn't called Ultravox. It was called Tiger Lily. Now, between 1980 and 1986, they scored 7 top 10 albums and 17 top 40 singles in the UK, the most successful of which was this hit Vienne. But early doors, they were called Tiger Lily. Funny. You had the singer John Fox. He was the front man and the main driving force behind the band. But the thing is, Fox left the band in 1979 and wanted to have a solo career. At that point, up stepped Midjour, and thank goodness he did, because it was Midjour's leadership. So it's Midge and Ure, spelt U-R-E, Midge. So when they interview him, whenever anyone in the press interviewed him, they say "so Midge." I used to think that was so funny. Midge is such a strange word, but when you say his name altogether, it sounds fine. So let's just use his full name, Midjour. So he takes over as lead singer, guitarist, and frontman on the 1st of November in 1979. He was actually rehearsing and playing with a different band, completely, called Visage, and apparently doing really, really well. But he took over, and they renamed the band. But there was a big spell in the middle where they didn't rename it, and part of that was because they just didn't want to make a mistake. They wanted the name to be iconic, and they wanted it to be proper, and as a result they sort of hung around not really knowing what they were called. They have a lineup now, or the best known lineup really of this band, because people were in, they were out. It was a revolving door. Didn't seem to be loads of fights, just a revolving door, so something wasn't right. But anyway, you had Curry, you had Midjour, you had the bassist Chris Cross, and the drummer Warren Khan. And apparently these are recognised as like the Wonder Kids of Ultravox. This is when the band worked. There's been loads of reunion shows. There was one in 2009, one in 2010. There was a new studio album called Brilliant in 2012. So they had all those things going on. But initially, of course, it was Tiger Lily, which I just didn't know. So let's talk about them. And let's talk about this song. They did this live performance for a record company in 1976, and it was that got them the record deal, and they signed to Island Records. If you ever look at any old vinyls, my parents had a load of old vinyls. I remember the emblem for Island Records, because when I was little, we had a record player, and so I was the kid that was putting on the vinyls, and I knew what to do. I knew how to use the needle and how to be gentle with the vinyl. Really strange. And it's quite funny, because there's obviously this vinyl resurgence now, and you've got shops in the UAE selling record players, selling vinyl. I got one for my daughter a few years ago. She was desperate. She was like, "I want a record player, Mummy." "All right, we'll get you a record player." I got it for her. Her and her 3 friends sat there, and they took the top off and then they stared. They literally just stared, and I went, "Well, are you gonna do it? You're gonna put a record on?" And they went, "How? What do we do?" And I really felt old. I sat there thinking, wow, you don't even know what to do. But actually, records were on their way out when I was, it wasn't even a thing when I was little. So that was quite fun, showing my daughter how to use vinyl. Ultravox were there early March 1978. Stevie Shears turns up. He did some amazing guitar playing, and had this kind of special style, but actually the special style turned out to be something that was a limiting factor, and they fired him. They just went, right, enough. Wasn't a big hullabaloo, just get out, you're not right for us. And of course, then Major took over in 1979 and he went right through and has continued to have a massive solo career. This is one of those songs that he sung with Ultravox, but he always sings also as a solo. So he does that too. He'll always sing this song because everyone loves it. And I know all the words. Through 2008 and through 2013, they've had this, as I said, this massive kind of reunion situation, lots of tours. They play Vienna, they play Rage in Eden, which was another really popular song. And both these songs were then digitally remastered, so they've had some fun with it. And Major went on BBC Radio 2 with Jonathan Ross. Hands up who knows Jonathan Ross. Excuse me, he's such a great presenter. He is on TV, but he started out in radio, like all good presenters do. And Major on Radio 2 in the UK, BBC, discussed the tour with all four members and said, look, this is the most successful incarnation of us as a band. We get on, we do it right. And they've got a new album planned, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm just looking, 2012, it was the 11th studio album. In 2013, they did the O2 Arena. They've just been doing everything. Who knows Gary Newman, another massive late 80s, 90s kind of singer. He has stated that the original 1970s era Ultravox was the most important influence on his music. That is huge. And they've gone on to do lots of different things. Like Ultravox is named as being one of the influences for techno music. That blew me away. I was like, really? Techno music? Didn't even know it was all going on. Too little, I suppose. So let's talk about the song before I play it. It's called Vienna, 1980, a new wave band, and released as the third single from the band's fourth album. They had no idea that it was going to be quite the song it turned into. It is regarded as the staple synth pop genre song that popularized this music. It's used as the barometer. If you like synthesized music, then this one is the one that started the whole thing. It was performed in 1985 at Live Aid at Wembley Stadium, and remains the signature song for them. And Live Aid was such a pivotal time. I mean, you can go back and watch all that. And it was a Saturday afternoon, and a friend of mine, funnily enough, who I didn't know at the time because I was little, but a friend of mine did the very famous voiceover for the start of the Live Aid concert that has been used over and over again. Voiceover artist, but also radio presenter. And now, I speak to Richard and he's like, it's so amazing that was me doing that. But at the time, they had no idea how big Live Aid was going to be. So such a dramatic band, such a dramatic song. It was written January 1979. Big grand piano in it, which isn't always popular. There's also a violin solo, so you're going to be into all of that. And just such a huge tune with a huge video. Very moody, the band doing all their stuff. So let's listen to it now. Here's the real thing. It's called Vienna. It's by Ultravox. It's from 1981. Enjoy this madness. Yeah, you see, synth music, you cannot beat it. It's the Music Greats on Yalla Home on Pulse 95.
It's Yalla Home.
With Ana Schofield
And Big Cass.